You know that moment when someone looks at you, and you can physically feel them deciding you're small? That's exactly how it felt when the security guard lifted his hand in front of my face like I was traffic that needed redirecting. This is a members-only event. His tone wasn't rude. It was worse. Polite dismissal. The kind reserved for people who clearly don't belong. The wind off the golf course carried the smell of freshly cut grass and money. Behind him, Riverside Country Club gleamed under the afternoon sun. White pillars, polished brass doors, manicured hedges trimmed like they had trust funds. I had grown up watching my family worship this place. Today, I owned it. But nobody knew that yet. I'm here for the ownership transition meeting, I said calmly, already feeling the familiar burn under my ribs. The same burn I'd felt my whole life around my family. Before he could respond, a laugh sliced through the air. Jazz. Oh my God. Melissa, my older sister, stepped out of the clubhouse glowing in head-to-toe designer pastel, diamonds flashing on her wrist like punctuation marks to her superiority. Behind her, my mother floated in linen elegance, and my brother Trevor trailed with that smug half-smile he wore when he smelled weakness. Melissa tilted her head at me like I was a stray dog that had wandered into a wedding. This event is for stakeholders. The club was sold to a tech consortium. Serious investors only. She turned to the guard with a pitying smile. She gets confused. Confused. That word. It had followed me my entire life. When I chose computer science over business school like Dad wanted. Confused. When I skipped cotillion to attend a hackathon. Confused. When I said I didn't need a husband to fund my lifestyle. Confused. I'm not confused, I said, and I could hear my pulse in my ears. My mother stepped forward, voice syrupy with embarrassment. Jasmine, sweetheart, you can't just show up to exclusive events. This isn't one of your little coding gatherings. Little, always little. My work, my ambitions, my dreams. Trevor leaned closer, lowering his voice. Don't make a scene. You're going to get escorted out and it'll reflect badly on all of us. Reflect badly. That was the family religion. Image first, reality optional. I reached into my bag slowly, deliberately. I have an invitation. Melissa didn't even look at my phone. Spam emails don't count, sweetie. She laughed, that polished junior league giggle perfected over brunches and backhanded compliments. I felt something inside me settle. Not anger, not shame, just clarity. They still had no idea. My father's booming voice echoed from across the lot. There's my family. He walked toward us in golf attire, red-faced and proud, already celebrating whatever social advantage this sale would bring him. His eyes landed on me and dimmed slightly. Jasmine, what a surprise. Melissa stage whispered. She thinks she's supposed to be at the meeting. My father's expression shifted to that familiar blend of irritation and pity. This really isn't appropriate. I know you're trying to network for your computer hobby, but this is real tech industry business, not websites. My hands felt cold. I had worked 90-hour weeks. I had taught myself encryption protocols so complex they made grown engineers sweat. I had built something out of nothing. And to him, it was still a hobby. That's because you never asked what I actually do, I said quietly. Trevor rolled his eyes. We asked. You give vague answers about data security and cloud infrastructure. None of us understand that stuff. I almost laughed. You don't understand, so it must not matter. That had been their logic since I was 12 and took apart my first computer. Call Thomas Brennan, I told the guard evenly. Tell him Jasmine Park is here. My mother inhaled sharply. You can't just drop his name like that. The guard spoke into his radio. Static crackled. Then a crisp voice came through. Jasmine Park. Send her directly to the grand ballroom. She's expected. The silence that followed was thick and delicious. The guard straightened instantly. My apologies, Miss Park. My father blinked rapidly, recalculating. Melissa's lips parted, but no sound came out. I walked past them without another word, heels clicking against stone. They followed behind me, still confident, but shaken. The ballroom doors opened and chandeliers exploded into light. 200 people filled the room. Old money, new money, the kind that controls cities without ever running for office. And at the front stood Thomas Brennan. Silver hair, perfect posture. He saw me and smiled warmly. Jasmine, we're ready for you. Ready for me. He gestured toward the front row where a reserved placard read, Park family, VIP guests. My family stopped breathing. I could feel it, their entire worldview bending in real time. As we sat down, Melissa leaned toward me, whispering harshly, "What is going on?" I met her eyes and held them. The ownership announcement. The lights dimmed. A presentation screen descended. Thomas began speaking about preservation, innovation, community legacy. Then the slide changed. The Cloud Vault Technologies logo filled the screen. Interlocking silver clouds wrapped around a vault door. Trevor made a choking noise. My mother gripped Dad's arm so tightly her knuckles went white. Thomas continued. Founded 10 years ago by a visionary entrepreneur. Another slide appeared. My professional headshot from Forbes. The air left the room all at once. Please welcome Riverside Country Club's new owner and CEO of Cloud Vault Technologies, Jasmine Park. Applause erupted like a tidal wave, and I stood. Walking to that stage felt like walking through every single moment they had ever dismissed me, every interrupted sentence at Thanksgiving, every eye roll when I mentioned encryption or infrastructure, every polite nod that really meant "that's cute." The chandelier lights were warm against my skin, but my hands felt cool, steady, grounded. I wasn't shaking. I had done harder things than this. I had pitched venture capitalists who looked at me like I was a diversity statistic. I had negotiated contracts with men who tried to explain my own technology back to me incorrectly, facing my family's disbelief. That was familiar territory. Thomas handed me the microphone with quiet respect. Not indulgence, not tolerance, respect. And that difference alone felt like oxygen after years underwater. I stepped to the center of the stage and let the silence stretch just long enough to make everyone lean in. 10 years ago, I began, my voice carrying clearly across crystal and glass. I started Cloud Vault in a 400-square-foot studio apartment with $30,000 in student loans and a second-hand laptop that overheated so badly I kept a desk fan pointed directly at it. A ripple of soft laughter moved through the room. I didn't smile. I wasn't telling a joke. I didn't have investors. I didn't have connections. I didn't have a safety net. What I had was an idea that data security was going to become the backbone of modern civilization. I paused, letting that sink in. Most people told me it wasn't realistic. Some suggested I pursue something more stable, something respectable. My eyes drifted deliberately to my father. A real job. I described the early mornings when the sun rose before I'd gone to bed, the cold emails sent into the void, the 197 rejections before the first yes. I talked about that first client, $5,000 wired into my account, and how I stared at the confirmation screen for a full minute just to make sure it was real. How I reinvested every dollar. No vacations. No designer clothes. No country club brunches. Just code. Audits. Penetration tests. Relentless iteration. Within 3 years, I continued, we grew to 20 employees. Within 5, we were protecting regional banks. Within 8, we were securing federal contracts. A slide behind me displayed Cloud Vault's growth curve, a sharp upward climb that looked almost violent in its acceleration. I heard murmurs now, respectful ones. Last year, we went public. Our IPO raised $600 million. Today, Cloud Vault is valued at $1.2 billion. We employ 347 people across 4 continents. I let the numbers land one by one like deliberate footsteps. My personal net worth is approximately $412 million. This time the silence wasn't polite. It was stunned. And this morning, I completed the acquisition of Riverside Country Club for $47 million in cash. I saw Melissa's composure fracture completely. Trevor blinked rapidly, as if trying to wake himself up. My mother's hand trembled against my father's sleeve. I'm not sharing these figures to impress you, I said evenly. I'm sharing them because for a long time, my work was reduced to a hobby, a phase, something cute. I felt the old memories flicker through me. Thanksgiving 3 years ago when I mentioned closing a $50 million Series B round and Trevor laughed, accusing me of exaggerating. Christmas when I invited them to our company gala and Mom said she didn't want to spend the holidays at a networking party. Easter brunch when I brought up preparing for our IPO and Melissa redirected the conversation to her new car. When security stopped me today, I continued. Someone suggested I was confused. I wasn't confused. I was early to an industry that now protects the financial infrastructure of this country. Early to understanding that cyber warfare would redefine national security. Early to realizing that sometimes the people who underestimate you do so because they cannot imagine a version of success that doesn't mirror their own. A low wave of applause built, then swelled. I advanced the slides, outlining renovation plans, state-of-the-art digital security systems, full infrastructure modernization, a secure member portal built with zero-trust architecture. Then I revealed the scholarship initiative, 5 fully funded annual memberships and paid internships for young innovators from underserved backgrounds. We're calling it the Underestimated Founders Program, I said. Because sometimes the most dangerous words you can hear are "you don't belong here." The applause rose again, louder this time, sustained. Belonging, I finished, my voice steady but firm, is not inherited. It's earned through contribution, resilience, and vision. This club will remain exclusive, but not to lineage, to excellence. The standing ovation felt like a physical force, not because of the wealth, not because of the purchase, but because the narrative had flipped. As I stepped off the stage, the air felt different, charged, recalibrated. My father intercepted me halfway down the aisle. His grip on my arm was no longer commanding. It was uncertain. "Jasmine, we didn't know. Why didn't you tell us?" His voice cracked in a way I had never heard before. I gently removed his hand. "I tried," I said quietly. "You weren't listening." Melissa's mascara had begun to smudge at the edges. "You made it sound small," she said defensively, though her voice lacked its usual sharpness. "You never explained it like that." I held her gaze. "You never asked me to." Trevor stared at the floor, jaw tight, pride wrestling with reality. For the first time, none of them had a quick remark. No clever deflection, no polite condescension, just silence. And in that silence, I felt something inside me finally unclench. The revenge was never about humiliation. It wasn't about watching them shrink. It was about no longer shrinking myself to fit their expectations. "We're proud of you," my mother whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. The words hovered between us, fragile and overdue. I considered them for a moment before nodding once. "I'm proud of me too." And that was it. No grand speech, no dramatic exit, just the quiet, irreversible shift of power. I walked toward the doors, my phone already buzzing with a reminder about my call with the White House cybersecurity team to discuss our quantum encryption pilot. Business as usual. Behind me, the club hummed with new energy, with possibility, with change. I had built something undeniable, not to prove them wrong, but because I refused to believe I was small. And sometimes, the sweetest justice isn't revenge. It's success so loud it rewrites the story they told about you.